Hey guys, welcome back. Today is going to kind of be a hodgepodge of videos. I'm going to show you me planting 9-year-old and 8-year-old San Marzano seeds. I'm going to show you the update on those seeds. I'm also going to show you how I get sweet potato slips from my own sweet potatoes that I grew from last year. And then I'm also going to show you how I separate tomato seedlings, because I plant them all in one big pod, and then I separate them out when they get 2 sets of leaves, at least 2. They need at least 2 before I separate them. And then I'm just going to do a hodgepodge of probably an update on my garlic, and then also when to trim figs. Alright guys, here's my seeds. I have San Marzano tomatoes from 2014, and I have some from 2015. We're going to see if these sprout at all. They should, but you never know. I've had some pretty old seeds before. This is not the oldest, but we're going to see if they sprout. Alright, so I'm going to do this back row. Just make a little divot in there. I'm going to do the back row 2015. I'm just going to throw a bunch of them in there because you never know. And there's a lot in here. And I like to break them up because these are the ones I saved, and then sometimes they stick to each other. So I'm just going to take a bunch. I'll separate them later when they get bigger. I don't do them one per thing at the beginning. That should be plenty. I might have a bazillion San Marzano tomatoes during the summer. That's okay, I can with them. And then the front one I'll do the 2014. These don't look as great, but we're gonna still try them. Make a little divot. We'll see how many of these actually sprout. I might be giving these suckers away because I already planted some, but those were a newer packet of seeds, and all I do is just push it down. They're going to grow up in a big cluster, but I can separate them later. Not a big deal. So I'm going to put a label in this one. I already wrote on it San Marzano. These are things I've saved from before, from when I had to buy peppers or something when mine didn't sprout. So this is, both of these are San Marzanos. This back one, 2015, 2014. I'll give you guys updates in a couple days. Alright guys, I wanted to give you an update. It's been about 9 days since I planted these. These are the 2015, 2014 San Marzano seeds. And they all popped up. So don't ever, see it's the same one where I wrote San Marzano on the front and the back. Don't ever let anybody tell you that old seeds are bad. You never know until you plant them. These are really old, for me at least, because I don't usually have seeds that long, but somehow they got lost in the fray. But look at that. 2015, 2014. I'm going to have a lot of these, but I like canning, so this is going to be awesome. And this is about 9 days in. I don't have a heating mat or lights. I put all my stuff outside. I got a little friend visiting me. You see the bee? But I put all my stuff outside and I take it in at night. I let it get the warmth of the day, and I'll water them and then just let them sit, and then I bring them in at night. You don't have to have lights, and you don't have to have a mat. So anybody that tells you you do is a liar. It's not things you need to spend money on if you don't have to. Look at these. Look at this one. I'm definitely going to be thinning. Those are cherry tomatoes. I'm going to be thinning those beasts out. But these are actually my sweet potato slips that I took off of right here, because all I did was take a sweet potato, put some potting soil. This is an old rotisserie chicken thing, and I put the top on when it gets cold, but I put them in there with the soil and I wet it down really good, and they sprout. And this is your slips that you get. And when they get about this big, you can see it's pretty big, I just rip it off the side, pull down, make sure you get a little node on the end, and then stick it in water. And once you put it in water, for probably about a week, it grows roots. And then once you get the roots on it, I plant it in the potting soil and wait for time to plant my sweet potatoes. So really easy, cheap, you don't have to spend a lot of money. And this is sweet potatoes actually from last year that I planted and I harvested. This is my big, long, weird looking one for my sweet potato video. But if you recognize this one, that's why. They're both from mine, and I stuck that one. There's a huge wasp on that right now, but I stuck that one down in the dirt, and it's giving me sweet potato slips like crazy. I started those at the beginning, actually end of February. And this is how many I have so far. And I'm gonna get more because I have more in the house. But I'm just gonna put this in water and let it get roots, and then I'm gonna plant it in here until it's time to plant them. But I did want to give you an update on those San Marzanos because they all popped up from my seeds. And I'll give you an update once they get bigger. And here's the sweet potato slips. I just get a mason jar. Ooh, I'm dropping it. But I stick them in water. I fill the water up almost daily. And I stick them in. Let me see if I can find one that has a really long root. Let's see if I can get in there and get one. Well, I'm dumping them all out. It's okay. See the root? And once it's rooted pretty good, it has a bunch of them. I don't usually have to do it when it has one. I wait till it has a lot. And when it has a lot, that's when I plant it. Ooh, my bell peppers are popping up. I'm excited. Now this is the bone meal that I have, but I also use another brand too. I think it's Espoma. I just have more of this right now, but just find a really good bone meal. It doesn't have to be this. Find what works for you guys. Now I did this bed already. As you can see, it looks like a white powdery dust all over, and I put it at the base, and I'm going to water this in really good to go through the hay, and I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to put it at the base and water it in, and you need to do this for your garlic if you want bigger bulbs. Okay, so just take your bone meal. You can take the whole bag or do it by your hand, doesn't matter. Grab a handful, and I put it around the base of each garlic, and you can do this with onions too, and then water it in really good and make sure all the powder is put into the bottom near the roots. Don't let it sit on top, especially if you have hay on top. Don't let it sit there. But just keep going on all your garlic like this. Make sure it's got a good amount. I do about a handful. You're going to go through bone meal if you have a lot of garlic and onions. Okay. Do that and water it in really good. Alright, I'm also going to trim my figgies today. Usually want to do it a little bit earlier, but we've been having some really weird weather. You see how it's got a runner right here, and then it's got a main one with a bunch of little ones coming out. I am going to cut this runner off and all these little branches, and probably one of these, and leave the two main branches, because figs do better when you take care of them and trim them. You see this one on the bottom? I'm going to get rid of both of these. You want about 4 or 5 main big branches, and then you'll let the shoots come off of that. But you don't want a ton of little ones all over the place. And then I'm going to trim these. See there? I'm going to trim them a good ways down, because you got to trim them to wherever you want them to be for the next year, because they're going to grow a lot. So I'm going to trim these down and just cut the tops off. Alright, so each branch is going to be cut down, okay? It's going to grow back, don't worry. And you want to do this when you're not going to have freezing temperatures in the next 4 days or so. Because you want it to heal over. You want the top to heal over. And you can trim these before they leaf out. My figs are the last to leaf out. Now I don't know if you can see that. You can see that it's still alive and good. It survived the freeze, the deep frost, and everything we had. You can tell it's because it's green when you cut it. Now this part right here is completely black, and I'm going to cut this part off. This, you can tell where it's dead on parts, and whenever it's dead, cut it off. Don't let it stay on there. Alright guys, I'm going to show you how I up pot or transfer my tomato seedlings when they get to their second or third leaves. See how these ones have at least 2 sets. See, here's my San Marzonos that I planted that are old, but these only have 1 set of leaves so far. So these ones I'm not gonna up pot yet. But these Cherokee Purple are ready, and I'm gonna show you how I do that. It's really easy and simple to separate them. All you wanna do first is put water, basically water your plant. So it will come apart easier. If it's dried out, the roots are gonna rip more. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this next batch out right here and put them in here. All right, so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna squeeze the bottom right here. If you have these type of containers, I'm gonna tip it and barely pull on the roots, or pull on the stems. Don't pull on it a lot, okay? So I wetted it down some, I didn't soak it, but all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make holes with my finger. You can use something else if you want. I go all the way down. Okay? And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start separating these. And just, it's like working the roots. I push them a little bit, and then I start just pulling them apart. And then I'll get to the edge, and I just gently pull, okay? So once I do that, now I'm gonna separate these. Gently pull it. Probably should have wetted these a little bit more. See, now this one has roots intact. It's got more than 1 set of leaves. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it gently all the way down into this hole. And now remember, when you plant tomato seeds, if you're up potting them, you can bury this all the way to right below the leaves, because remember, all the little hairs on it will grow roots, and it will give you a stronger plant. See, all of these have a good set of roots left on them. And that's all I'm going to do for the rest of these. I'm just going to pull out like this and just lay them where I want them. Remember, when you're doing this, if you have a lot of different varieties, you better label them, or you're gonna mix them up, okay? Now, if I have more than one, I look at which one I think is the strongest, the least leggy, and I'll put that one in there. But I'm still going to use these, so I'm going to probably put these back in this little one right here. But all I do, put the hole all the way down, gently push it in there, and then push the soil around it, okay? Push it all the way down there. And if I have any soil left over from the ones I took, I'll put it around it, okay? Put the soil, if you can, all the way back up. They like to be buried deep, and when these are finally ready to go out in a couple weeks for me, uh-oh, I snapped that one. Good thing is I have extra. Got to be gentle when you're doing this. If you're too rough on them, they will snap, and I snapped that one. But this is why I do a bunch of them instead of just one per pot at the beginning. So I know I have extra. And so I take the extra dirt I have left and I'll put it around the seedlings. And that's all you do. And if the ones that you up pot, I usually keep in the shade for the first couple days, and then I'll put them back out in the sun so that they're not too stressed. But they'll grow just fine like that now, and they all have their own pot, and by the time these are bigger, they'll be ready to go out, and I'm not going to up pot these anymore. You can use solo cups too. You don't have to have these containers. I just have extra ones left over from when I had bought peppers and stuff. I've kept these forever, so you don't have to use those. I'm going to do the same thing to this. Remember, make sure they have more than one set of leaves on them. If they only have one set of leaves, they're not ready to be up potted, okay? All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, it's easy to grow your own stuff from seed. Just follow the instructions on the back of the packet. And also for sweet potatoes, they're really easy to grow. Just stick a potato in some soil, sweet potato in some soil, and it'll start growing slips for you. And don't forget to separate out your tomato seedlings. Now I grow them all in one big bunch, so I don't have so many at once. But if you want to start them at one at a time, you're more than free to do that. But I like growing them all at once, so I know how many I have. And then also I can sell them, or I can give them away to family. I do all kinds of stuff with them. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye. My lemon tree is blooming again. It smells wonderful. And the bees are being my friends right now.